What are your views of writing?
My views of writing are that it's very important. Starts from a very early age and just immersing the children in it at every chance you get, pointing things out as you're reading books, pointing to words, that writing needs to be something that is modelled. Let them see you writing, lots of reading books, so they get those ideas of how a story flows.
Would you say that reading and writing are connected?
Yes, very much so. Yep. They need to be taught separately, of course. From an early age, you need to get their interest through the stories, and you can show them that this is what writing is, and this is why we need to learn how to write. Then you start to bring in those little things of experimenting with lots of different types of writing and with lots of different things. So early on in those literacy groups, in the kindergarten setting, when they first come through, they need to have experienced the penmanship, holding your pen correctly. Those things need to be taught specifically.
How would you introduce writing to early stage or stage 1 class?
Have little literacy groups focused on all the fine motor skills to start with. So strengthening their skills so that they can physically hold a pen correctly. And then after a little bit, you would introduce paper into it, learning specific letters to start with, starting things with like their name, making sure that they're writing their name properly and forming letters properly, so having lots of little whiteboard cards, lots of tracing and in between the lines, and then it's just a very slow progression to start with, I think, and then the reading and the writing, they start to link, moving on to very simple sentences, reading a story and then what they got from the story in one very simple sentence, which you then carefully model on the board, and then maybe even just choosing one word that they write from that sentence. It's very complex process, but
would you use modelled, guided or independent writing equally, or one more so than the other?
It's very modelled. You're doing a lot of the directing, and then you're guiding them. So I would sit them down in a circle, the sentence up on the board, and we write one word at a time. Let's go with the cat is on the mat. We write we make sure that they can all do it. The next word, we're doing finger spaces. There's just so much involved in that one sentence. But as they progress and you're doing more guided and independent activities where they're practicing what you've modelled, it changes depending on at what point in time. Yeah.
So if you were to plan a modelled writing lesson, what would you do to try and introduce and get children interested and motivated?
To get them interested, we would often read like a big book, look at all the pictures, talk about where particular things are, if it's a rhyming book, where it might be set, characters in there. So lots of discussion on the story first. And then depending on what you want to focus on, whether it's a grammar focus or a structure focus, so you would be modelling that outcome, I suppose, that indicator that you want from the lesson, pointing it out specifically, giving them an example first, and then getting their ideas, popping those up on the board. The ones that are independent are obviously going to be able to go away and create their own, but then there's still that support structure there.
How would you develop a student's vocabulary through writing?
Again, this is where obviously reading and writing go hand in hand. Vocabulary, you just need to make lots of word banks, lots of visual cues, lots of adjectives and things like that. Children find it easier to see it in front of them. Sort of prompt them with describing what they can see. If it's a snake, well, what colour is the snake? How long is the snake? Is it a fat snake? Is it a big snake? And then look at those words that they are commonly using to then thinking of other words that they could use. So instead of big, it might be enormous. So it's other options around the room for them to use.
Which form of writing do you find to be the most effective in getting the children to be interested in writing?
So definitely recount writing is definitely a text type that they find the easiest to write, so you do tend to get a lot more from them because it's their own experience. They've always got lots of knowledge about it.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time.
No worries.